Choose the good audio.
That's you good.
That's it. So we are live. Let's cut over, guys. I'm glad to see you're here, checking us out for the second time. This is the second podcast, and we decided to pretty much cover a topic that we've been, I guess, society's been covering a fair bit recently.
It's quite sensitive, the topic.
Yeah, it's going to be either I'm going to get thrown under a bus on social media, which is understandable.
Yep.
Or we're going to have some constructive ability to understand stuff. So our topics are gender-driven society. So I believe, I think it's a key topic for now, and for what's happening in social media, what's happening across multiple countries, the protests that are going on, and they're good protests that should be going on, and it should be a relevant topic. There are also, I believe, personally, more relevant topics that should be out there, that should be protested more regularly about.
Very good. No, that's good, man. That's a good heading to have. It's super sensitive as well, because as soon as you say, I want to go left, and someone else believes you should go right, you're going to say, well, what's wrong with the left? What's wrong with the right? And you're going to be arguing over stuff, and you're kind of going, well, you know, how do you actually get to a place where you feel like you've been heard by someone? And at the end of the day, and I think this is what's generally is happening nowadays, is that people are quite happy to cut off relationships because they disagree with you.
Yeah. It's more about what's in it for them, and if you don't agree with me, that's it. I'm not your buddy anymore because your ideas don't match my ideas.
Exactly.
And it shouldn't be like that. That's not what friendships are built around.
We hope that's not what friendships should have been built around.
Yeah, see, that's
ideal.
That's ideal. That's
Correct.
in a perfect world.
Yes.
But in saying that, that's high majority of relationships or friendships are based around what I get out of it.
And I think that's the key difference, is that before you start talking about how are we going to dialogue, how are we going to sort out when society's got a different perspective than what I have on certain points of issue, you got to ask yourself, how is my relationship built? So if I've got a relationship with you and we're mates, but it's based on whether we have enough similarities, then we can say, right now we're friends.
Yeah.
That is going to fail somewhere along the line.
Most definitely.
Because
I don't get along with you. Anyway, back to seriousness.
That's right. Counseling issues are afterwards, Rob. We'll sort that out afterwards. So you're basically going to say, is these guys that I'm hanging out with, do I hang out with them because I like them, because of who they are, or am I hanging out with them because of what they can do for me? The problem is this, is that if I have enough things that I like about you, let's use you and me as an example.
Okay.
If I have enough things that I like about you, then we're friends. Then I'm up to manipulate subconsciously. It might not even be a conscious level, but subconsciously, I want to get more of these things out of you and less of those things that I don't like.
Yeah.
Like when you whine about stuff, Rob.
I do.
You whine and you go on and on, especially your snoring is horrendous, man. So
sorry.
So when you private joke, what I want to do is I want to try and get more of the stuff that I like out of you and less of the stuff that I don't like. And no relationship should be based on manipulation whatsoever.
Definitely not.
And so so the thing for me is to kind of say, how do we start looking at our friendships and go and say, my friendship or my marriage or my relationship with my kids, whatever it is, are they based on who the person is versus what they do?
Okay, so saying we want to put it in today's context. So in this day and age, obviously there's going to be some explosive discussions / arguments / pretty much, depending on the personalities, pretty much punching on with each other, violence and everything like that. We saw a lot of it over in the US. We saw a little bit of it here in Sydney. So say you and me, we're having a chat and you're like, nah, you're wrong, you're this, you're that, you're X, Y, Z. You being the one, I'm not saying whoever has the higher ground, but the person that needs to actually come to the conclusion of, okay, well, we're not actually having a discussion. You're saying, I'm wrong, you're right. What's the best way of going about that?
That is a tough question, because at the end of the day, you're going to ask the person first and foremost. If we're friends, it's a different
Yeah.
story too. If you were strangers,
Well, no, I believe because in today's society, there's a lot of half friends, a lot of acquaintances,
Yep, yeah.
and things like that. So obviously, we're going to be in a workspace and we're going to be having these discussions. So having a discussion with an acquaintance, and it's not about tiptoeing about it, but being able to get the 2 points across in the most peacefully understanding
Yeah.
manner of everything.
well, let's talk about the matter at hand instead of trying to allude to stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't come across one person yet that says that the protests shouldn't have gone ahead.
Mhm.
I haven't come across one person or other than because it was a COVID-19 case.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about in the States.
Yeah.
People are saying, like, should people protest about it? I'm kind of going, I think they should.
Yeah.
Is anyone saying that they're standing with the guy that killed Mr. Floyd? And no one's saying, yeah, no, he's in the right. I haven't
Yeah.
come across one person that says that police officer was in the right. But still, you've got two people that are violently opposing one another. And I think for me, the missing ingredient is in the whole discussion of things, is people are saying, no, we should have the right to protest, and they're stopping there. Instead of saying we should have the right to protest violently.
Mhm.
They're saying, well, what are you saying? I'm saying, well, you can protest,
Yeah.
but as soon as you start damaging other people's livelihoods,
Yeah.
you're taking away. You're not making a statement against the
What's happened?
the
Which is-
opportunity,
yeah.
the regime at the time or whatever else it is, the issues at hand. You're actually saying, I'm going to take away from your livelihood. I'm taking away from you because I'm upset about this. And
Yeah.
that doesn't make sense to me. You kind of go, why
No.
are you just, you just assume that these people who've got cafes on the corner or shops or whatever
Yeah.
else it is, that if I've got now freedom to do what I want to do, to go and destroy and take things away from other people. And the funny thing is I saw so many posts coming up about how African Americans, it was their shops.
Yeah.
They would, and you kind of go, if it matters so much, why are there people kind of saying like, hey, we go up to here and that's it? Because they're saying, we should be protesting, and you should be protesting. But I've seen so many protests that are violent, and some of them need to be violent.
Yeah.
But
Why?
You're
Why do they need
protesting
to-
violence with violence, and that for me just doesn't come.
But why does a protest need to be violent? Why can't it be more of a peaceful protest?
Yeah, exactly right. And you kind of go, well, then is it really a protest? Or you just kind of like a little voice, and there's people saying, we need to make ourselves heard and seen, and if it's violent, then it becomes heard and seen. And granted, it is, because it's getting coverage now. If the protests were less violent, I don't think it would have had as much traction.
I think it would still have a lot of traction due to the amount of social media.
Of course.
Where we're in a social media society, in I guess the Western world, we're in a social media society, and we're able to cover that. So why couldn't it just be a peaceful protest in a social media society?
I agree.
Because what's happened over in the US, destroying businesses, that's not called for. I don't believe that really got a point across. We got to focus on how much violence is happening there. The timing of it is obviously not a good stance. We're
But
in
you
a
can't not
pandemic.
protest because of the timing of things.
I
You're like, this
know.
is the time we
Yeah.
need to hit it now. And so I understand that.
Yeah,
I understand that.
But yeah, I think our main aim is to be able to have a discussion with a person that's
Has a different perspective, different viewpoint to you.
yeah, and if we can't have that, so like, I'm not going to use big words because that's not gonna come up.
Amicable.
Yes, that
There you
one.
go, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it that.
We'll put subtitles on the next one for you. Sid.
So if we can't have those discussions, then how are people meant to be able to get their points across?
That's right. And as soon as the issue happened, I was working, and one of the guys that I run into regularly when I was working, he said to me, "What do you think about this whole scenario going on?" And I said, I don't. And I could see he had a very specific direction that he was taking this.
Because obviously, you would have seen. Yeah, you're old enough. You would have seen a bit of that in South Africa.
Yeah.
And you would have seen those types of aggressive protests / just going out and killing people.
Yeah. And I think for me, I'm going to just digress a little bit and come to what your point is that in South Africa, we were taught we had to go to national service.
Mhm.
If you were in a certain age, in a certain time period, you were forced to go to do national 1 year to 2 year national service. Otherwise, you were thrown in jail.
Yeah.
And then when you got out of jail, then they were asked again, you're going to do your national service? And if you said no, you go right back into jail.
Oh, wow.
And so that could be ongoing for years and years and years. And then eventually you'd say, okay, right, fine, I'll do it. And then they say, right, now you've had 2 years national service, but you've been in jail for 6 years, your 2 years start now. So you could well be 8 years, out of your life, or or you just go and do what you were taught to do. But also there was a whole bunch of facts that were kept from us, and we were taught, look at what the other opposing people are doing.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what we were up to, the shenanigans we were up to and the like. And they did the same thing on their side. They were telling the people, oh, look what's so terrible about it. But they weren't telling them the whole story about what they were doing. Yeah. And it was keeping information that you wanted because you're trying to coerce another response. Like what I said earlier, I want to get more of this and less of that. Yeah. So, you see in World War II, it was the same kind of thing where it's propaganda. You're holding certain information back to get more of a response of what you want out of people. So you had a lot of people standing up and saying, I'm going to go serve my country because it's the right thing to do. And you had a lot of people saying, I'm going to go and stand up against this country because it's the right thing to do. Ultimately, I think apartheid was wrong.
Yeah.
But I've become super aware to people that are trying to push a one-sided agenda and say, and I've been so aware that on Twitter and so many other cases that with the things that are going on in America, people are using Twitter and using those social medias to push their agenda by coming up with some cheeky, sneaky, funny, sarcastic comments about, what the government over there should be doing or shouldn't be doing. And I think that for me is one of the biggest things, is to say, how do we have that dialogue? How do we chat about things? And I think more importantly, people actually aren't interested in talking about stuff. Actually, this is my opinion and I want to hear what you got to say.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I'll tell you that online. I think you're an idiot.
I'm going to do one adjustment because I've looked at the screens, and if anyone's watching, it's gotten very dark. Sorry, guys.
It had nothing to do with the topic, eh?
Nothing.
It's also overcast, so... There we go.
That better? Just in case.
I was about to make a bad dad joke.
No, that's not a bad joke.
Yeah, no. I was allowed one a day. I've used mine up already, so...
First thing this morning?
Yep. I've called it and that was it.
So, with all that, so our things, I'm trying to just get back on track with our people and their agendas. So in Western society, we get driven by a lot of people's agendas. Obviously, at the moment, Black Lives Matter. And then before that, we had the gay and lesbian, transgender. Sorry, guys, if I'm stuffing this up. It's not purposeful. I don't purposefully do it. I'm probably just uneducated. So I'm happy for you to write nice comments because I haven't purposefully done this on purpose. It's just my lack of education. So educate me. So I think...
And it's not your heart to try and purposely upset someone.
No.
The whole reason why we're putting this together is to kind of say, how do we do things better?
Yeah.
So if by some slip of the tongue or mess up whatever else, it's not revealing the real agenda in your heart. It's none of that, man. You kind of saying like, I'm just messing up because I don't know anything.
Just educate us. I think when it comes down to opposing agendas, I think it's just more of an education of two people coming together and being able to educate each other of each other's things. It's not that person's agenda's correct. It's not my agenda's correct. It's more of just let's educate each other with our own opinions.
And is there another way? Is there another way that we can get around this thing? So we're kind of saying, no, it's left, no, it's right. So I'm kind of going, well, because we haven't had dialogue yet, we don't even know if there's another way around this thing.
No.
Just because we're so vehemently putting our point across.
So aggressive with it all.
So I've got a question for you. You've heard the term, the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yes.
Okay. What does that mean to you?
Well, that means to me, if you make the loudest noise, you get the most attention.
Correct. 100%. That's what I understand it anyway. And that for me is the thing is right now, people are aware of that. And so they're kind of saying, let's make the most noise so that we get the most attention because it needs to be sorted out.
Yes.
There needs to be a focus put on this issue. Then it needs to be eradicated. for whatever reason. And I think for me is that people with agendas are now jumping on. They said, let's make that noise even louder.
Yep.
Let's push this agenda, because they're ultimately hoping for a spin-off agenda. They're ultimately hoping for something else to take place. Maybe even derail the existing government that's over there. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's why I feel I'm going to really kick up a lot of sand here, but the Sydney protests were obviously about Black Lives Matter, but they'll bring up a case that happened 3 or 4 years ago, from my understanding. Educate me otherwise. From my understanding, it was a case that happened 3 or 4 years ago where a Aboriginal person had actually gone into police custody and died. And it happens quite regularly, unfortunately, and it's not a good thing whatsoever. But how about we protest something that's just happened? How about we be a bit more relevant to the story that's out there instead of...
Yeah, I think they were showing that there's a pattern of events.
Yeah, okay.
So that wasn't them kind of saying like we're protesting this. They're kind of saying there's a pattern of events that's happening here, to show that there is actually an issue that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people saying like you can't highlight saying Black lives matter but other lives don't matter, because it's and they're right, kind of saying there is a focal point on this thing at this point in time. My perspective, my opinion is that it's not so much a racial thing, because they talk about profiling. They talk about how so many percentages of people in America are succumb to black on black violence, to all of that kind of stuff, and percentages of how many people get locked up and how many people get lose their lives while they're in police custody, and all of those factors come into play.
Yeah,
I think the biggest thing is, and this back to my illustration when I was working last week, is that this guy came up to me and he said, "Have you heard what just happened?" And I said, "Yes, I have." And he said, "So what is your perspective on it? What do you think about it?" And I said, because it's wrong. I said to him straight up, it's wrong on every level. It's wrong. I said, but I've been, as I said, in the national service in South Africa, in the Air Force there. We had a few rounds shot at us, nothing major. I've been in a situation where I've been held up in South Africa by a gang of people. They took out a whole bunch of people in one go. I've had firearms. I've had all sorts of things happen to me, and just you don't know how many things change when you go through those experiences. Yeah, you're not Joe Average anymore. When you've put someone on the front line and say, right, your job is to protect me from those bad guys that want to do me harm, whoever that bad guys might be, whoever they are, your job is to protect and serve. You go through those experiences often enough, it jades you. Yeah. And so I said to this guy, I said, I don't know what's going to happen. I said, I don't agree with it. I said, but I'm pretty certain people aren't putting a factor to consider about people that have been so on the front line so often, so long, having experienced so many bad things that they lose track of what's real, what's not right, what is right. And his response was, well, they should get people off before they become to that level. And I'm kind of going, I agree. That's what the matter should be about. Yeah. It's not about, my perspective, it's not about race per se. Yeah. It's about how do we help policemen do their job better. And I said to him, that you've got policemen in the UK who don't have firearms, who don't have anything, but people laugh at them, throw things at them. They try and protect as much as they can, but they are hamstrung to actually do any decent protection. Yeah. And I said, somewhere along the line, there's got to be a relook at how these policemen are given the right tools to do the job that they're meant to do. And if at any stage they become jaded, or because whatever it might be, whatever they become affected by what's been going on, how do we help them transition? Because some people have only got it, if they were in the military, and it's something they call it PTSD. Yeah. If PTSD starts affecting them, they've got programs to help get them back, but not throw them out. Yeah. Don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. But how do we get you sorted out so you're still an asset to us, you still benefit to us, but you're not being affected negatively by these kind of things. Yeah. I think by the time someone's gone to what's happened with whatever happened in America, I think it's too late.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he's going to have a full measure of the law thrown at him.
Yeah.
But he's not the only one. I think there are other officers out there that need help, because if you've not just, it doesn't just happen once a night, it'll be happening 3, 4, 5 times a night. Every week you've got to go home to your family.
And this is the only one that's been caught on camera?
Yeah.
You know.
That's right. That's right. So I think for me, the biggest issue would be, because it was also the other, it was in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And that's where the Australian lady got shot and killed by a police officer there too.
Oh, wow.
So Mr. Floyd and this other, I can't remember what her name was, but they both happened in the same city.
Yeah.
Both with police officers who weren't acting as they could have or should have.
Yeah.
So it's not so much for me a thing of Black Lives Matter. Of course they matter.
Yeah.
Of course every life matters. Of course. But how are we factoring in the police officers and how to actually help them do their job better?
Yeah, exactly. And to be able to have that conversation with your friend, with your colleague, not just about this, but about all the other, I guess, insightful, well-meaning topics. Like, for example, I support most things that are going on. Everyone has their own troubles, has their own circumstances they're going through. Everyone has their own journey. I support that 110%. It's their journey. It's not my journey. It's their journey.
Yeah.
So I'm at work and I have people come up to me going, "You need to do this X, Y, Z," and I say no. They're like, "Why?" I go, "Because it's not my journey. You as a person, you have a choice to take on what someone else has, or you just go, unfortunately, with this, I disagree, or just no." It's not being rude. You have to be loyal to yourself.
I think you've hit something on the head there, which is we haven't been on the same journey together. You might have someone come and approach you at work and kind of say, "We should get rid of all this meat section. This is terrible. I'm a vegan." You don't understand the trauma that this is doing to animals. And you say, "Well, look, that's your journey, that's your thing." And the truth is that eating meat and has affected that person to the point of where they are so passionate about that.
Yeah.
Does being a vegan mean that they're wrong or right? Does eating meat is wrong or right? For me, it's kind of going. It's depending on what journey each person is.
Exactly.
The problem is that no one's interested in hearing about your journey.
No.
They just want to tell you this is wrong. This is right.
Throw it in your face.
That's right. And that I'm not interested to hear about the context of how you got to that conclusion. I'm just here to tell you that left is the correct answer and not right.
Yeah.
In whatever agenda they have.
Yeah, exactly. And how would you approach those types of people? They'll say, "I think the vegan subject's not as sensitive at the moment, so I reckon we'll run."
That's why I threw it in.
Yeah, the vegan, it's not as sensitive at the moment. So, say for example, someone comes up to you and go, and they're a colleague, and they walk up, "Oh, how dare you be eating meat? It stinks out this office space. You shouldn't be doing that. You're killing animals, X, Y, Z."
Yeah.
Do you put on a mask that Rob usually puts on and goes, "I don't care"? Or do you actually go, "Why?"
Very good. What did you do there? You answered with a question. And that's most of the times what you do, that I would do, is kind of say, how did you get to that point? How did you get to that conclusion?
Yeah.
And then my first thing is, do you actually want to talk about it, or are you just here to offload?
Yeah.
Because some people are just wanting to vent.
Yeah.
I just want to let you know. Well, then offload.
Yeah.
Don't expect a response, because all you're doing is offloading. But if you want to talk about it, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
It might not be right now because I'm working, but we're on a lunch break. I'll catch you afterwards or after work, and then we'll have a beer together.
Yeah.
Go and chat about it. But most people actually aren't interested. They just want to vent and tell you their story. And the other thing is that I want to throw into this pot of things that are going on.
Yeah.
Is that you assume everyone else is of the same background and understanding as you.
Yeah.
You're driving on the road and you think like, "Oh, all these people are having a lovely day," because you're having a lovely day.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you're having a tense day, like, "Wow, everyone's been rough," And it's the same thing. You assume that people that you're having dialogue with have the same intelligence, same background, same context, same as you, and you must have come to some conclusions where they haven't had the opportunity to come to you. Are you willing to take them step by step and go right back to the beginning and say, let's talk about it, but let's talk about it so we're on the same page with certain things, and then we can thrash it out. And I find most of the times when you kind of get to that point, you don't even need to talk anything through because they kind of go, I can see where you're coming from. Man.
Yeah.
They might disagree, they might not, but
But at least you had that discussion.
that's right.
You had that education.
And you're actually saying, and this is out of all we're talking here, this is the most important thing, is that if we're friends, the friendship, listen to my voice,
Oh, it's getting emotional. It's getting emotional, friendship.
this friendship is far more important than the disagreement.
Yeah.
If you say this topic is so much more important, is the most important thing that you've ever come across,
Yeah.
well, then you're actually saying that is that.
Yeah.
And we're over here, and this is so much more important. And I've always said no matter what we do, the friendship should take precedence
most
over
definitely.
everything because relationships are so few and far between where you can actually get to connect with guys and hang out and be real. And it's so rare that you got to fight for that thing.
Yeah.
And part of fighting for that thing might be like, hey, do I really need to voice my opinion about being a vegan? Hey, you know what? I know it's not the best time. I know it's not the best place. I know Robbie's not on the same page as me. I know he's had a terrible night's sleep. I know, actually, you know what? It's not that important because Robbie's more important than that thing there. And if you've got some rando pulling it off the street, kind of giving you a hard time, he's really not interested in the relationship in the first place. He's just motivated by agenda.
Yeah.
In which case, it's a whole different take on that thing.
Most definitely. Most definitely. I think that's a good ending. Unless you're going to give me, you're going to throw me under a bus or something, which
I wouldn't do that, Rob. Not two podcasts in a row.
I'm not sure. Not sure about that. But yeah.
But yeah, thanks. But it's, I think also is that you've kind of said the thing, which is how do we as guys disagree with common agendas? You're seeing people putting up on Facebook saying, I think this should happen, I think that should happen. And I honestly, and this is me, I don't know if I want to respond to those kind of things.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if I want to kind of say, hey, this thing here needs a bit of an attention. And I don't think you've actually thought this whole thing through.
Yeah.
Because then it's all out in the open. And whatever it is, Insta or Facebook, whatever it is, you're thrashing, this out in public forum, and then you've got people that are just kind of going like, just put their heads down. There's shots going over there. Going, ooh, I'm glad that's not me.
Yeah.
Jimmy, you shouldn't have said anything.
So do you reckon silence? Oh, now we're jumping into another. So you reckon silence is a key?
Nah,
not at all.
Not at all. That's why I said the squeaky wheel gets the most grease.
Yeah.
And the problem is that the people with the most, let me not use absolutes. My wife says I'm always using absolutes. So as soon as, if you're ever in an argument with your wife or whoever else, and they say, you're always doing this or you're never doing that, straight away you go, no, you're wrong because you're using an absolute. I don't always do this and I don't never do that. Most of the time, sometimes those are good words to use, but not always and never.
Yeah.
So I've forgotten what I was going to say now.
Silence.
Silence, squeaky wheel, that's it. And that the people with agendas, sometimes nefarious, there's another big word for you for the day. Nefarious agendas.
I have to look that one up.
Are making sure that that whatever's happening gets the most noise.
Yeah.
And what's happening is that people are kind of saying, actually, I don't think, that violence is the right answer because it's no longer about Black Lives Matter. That's what my perspective is. I don't think it's about Black Lives Matter. I think it's about people are really disagreeing about whether violence matters.
Yeah.
Because no one is saying Black Lives don't. I haven't come across anyone that's saying Black Lives don't matter. I haven't come across anyone that's saying police shouldn't be cautious about their procedures or they do. I don't think anyone's ever come out that I've heard saying if the police see things and they're not reacting to even a coworker, colleague, that they shouldn't do something. No one is saying any of that.
Yeah.
The real issue, what we're finding friction about, is people are saying no to violent protests.
Yeah.
Because and people are just putting it under the banner of no, we're just protesting because that's what we're doing, and that's getting the most noise. That's getting the most attention. When in actual fact, it should be about thank you for protesting, but actually we're choosing to do it the right way or a better way, and just do this thing with other people's lives in mind.
Yeah.
Because it's other people's lives that are being affected by shops being broken, by violence taking place in and amongst protesters and people that are standing up to protect their livelihoods and the like. And so should people be quiet? Definitely not.
Yeah.
I think it's important if you're seeing someone that's so proactive these things and you have a relationship with them to say, hey, I hear you saying these things. Tell me more about it. Why are you
Yeah.
saying things like this? Tell me about your journey,
Yeah.
and have the long conversation.
Yeah.
If that friendship
Means
if that mateship means anything to you, you owe it to them. Because I don't want to have anyone in my life that's just yes men.
Yeah.
If I'm going, I'm going to blaze a trail and we're heading this way,
Yeah.
and I'm going to blaze a trail off this cliff, and I'm going to take my family with me. If you're a mate and you say, go for it, Jim, you're not a real mate.
Yeah.
A real mate would say, hey, Jim, hey, there's a cliff there, bro. I don't think you should be doing this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Don't take your family with you. This is dangerous, man.
Yeah.
And so I don't want yes men in my life. But I don't want men that are going to be constantly in my face the whole time that actually don't give a hoot about who I am. They don't care about me.
Yeah.
They're just like, I just want to be in your face to tell you no the whole time. I want guys that actually care about me, my family, who love me, but are not afraid to come up and say, hey, it's my hand up, Jim. Just one thing here.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? Just what this direction you're heading? I don't think it's the cleverest of things. Can we talk about it?
Yeah.
Those are the guys I want in my life.
Awesome. No, it's real good. I think we covered. We definitely did a couple of swerves and all over the place with this podcast. I think we ended up nailing it at the end, the last 20 minutes or
Next
10
time you have to
minutes.
give me one of those boxing protection things. I'm going to sit here and take a few rounds.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we really did cover this subject on being able to have the chat with Sandy Sandpaper. Sorry, Sandy's, but Sandy the Sandpaper that rubs you up the wrong way, and find out their journey. It's more about finding out their journey than going, no, that's not right. Well, tell me, how did you get to this stage?
And you know what the funny thing is with your sandpaper illustration is that if you have the conversation with them, and at the end of the day you still see things, I want to eat meat, and she's still going, hey, I still want to be a vegan. I'm telling you now, because you've had that conversation for the other people, you're going to be tighter than what you were before. You're going to be, your bridge is going to be built a little bit more because you're actually saying, hey, this person actually cared enough to have it out with me, just to talk it through. And not being mean, not using, but also choose your words, man. There's certain words you can choose that aren't as volatile and loaded, and just think about what you want to say beforehand. Keep your voice levels low.
If it gets heated, make sure
just gotta go, hey, man. Hey, you know what I mean, man? Just chill out. Hey, bro, what's the big vibe, man? Get all 60s on us.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I'm getting people are posting stuff on.
Cool, man. Well, that was good.
Cool. No, that was good. It was a real good chat. Real good. I think we were able to cover those subjects a lot better. And yeah, straight shooters.
Straight shooters.
Yeah, that really didn't all make sense just then.
Second round, we're already hitting the heavy ones, man.
I think we're getting
could have
it.
just stayed off with something simple.
Nah, why would we do that for? Why would we do that?
That's why we call it straight shooters.
But guys out there, let's just really just band together and be able to have those chats, have those conversations instead of going, nah, you're an idiot. And just really just
Or have the conversation and then tell them they're an idiot.
either way. But mate, just make sure that your mates are mates. And that's what it is at the end of the day. You have to remember that they're mates. And if you can't be mates with somebody, then just let them know. Have that chat too. Because I think that means more than leading someone on and saying that you're not mates and just making it up and using them for whatever.
Yeah, and even just ignoring the whole thing, But check your motives first. I think if you like their friend because of what they can do for you, they're in it for the wrong reason, man. Best you sort that out.
All right, guys. We'll catch you in another fortnight's time. We'll be doing another podcast in fortnight. And yeah, we'll see you then. See you guys.
Ciao.